Hello. It seems that there is a time to focus on different aspects of the creational energy teaching. It usually strikes when there is a curiosity and a desire to get to the bottom of a matter that is still unclear, or at least requires a closer examination in order to gain a better understanding. Well, the time has come to investigate the inner and innermost self and what Billy has to say on this life-changing topic. I will also insert some of my own comments. So let's see here. According to Billy, in the book Might of the Thoughts, there are two personalities which live in the human being during her entire life. In Might of the Thoughts, page 428 of the German English version, quote, "One is the inner nature, the ego, which the human being himself, herself creates according to her own ideas and guidelines, which she likewise creates himself or herself." End of quote. This simply means that all kinds of values or unvalues can be integrated into the inner nature of the human being. Therefore, one can create unworthy attitudes, such as having a low self-esteem or being imperious, as well as forming beliefs and identifying with them, such as believing in the existence of an almighty God, or that money is the measure of success, etc. Quote from Billy, "This nature, that is to say ego, is always demanding, calculating, hysterical, and garrulous, which means given to excessive and often trivial rambling talk, tiresomely talkative." Okay, so let's just read this again. "This nature, that is to say, ego, is always demanding, calculating, hysterical, and garrulous, as well as equipped with all the unvalues which guarantee the human being a way of life according to her own laws and recommendations, because they do not have the kind of direction determining form such as is contained in the impulses of one's innermost creational nature." In the book about the Fluidal-Energy, respectively, Fluidal-Powers, and other things, on page 60, the German English version, Billy explains that this is called the artificial inner self, which projects out into the world. Quote, "The human being has an inner core nature, simply that of the consciousness, and the personality, the interpersonal nature formed by himself, herself, as well as an artificial nature created by himself, herself, which does not have to be in conformity with the inner and innermost part of the inner core nature. The artificially created inner nature is thereby that which she displays outwardly." End of quote. And in About Fluidal-Energy on page 472, 474, quote, "The inner nature can indeed be described as a personality, only caution must thereby be recommended, because the human being has more than just one inner nature, namely the personality inner nature, then, however, also the innermost part of the inner core nature, simply the creational nature. And then she still has the nature which she reveals outwardly, that which she artificially creates when she plays something, because she does not behave according to her actual inner nature, as it is formed in the inner and in the innermost. That is, as it corresponds to the personality, but rather that which she puts on display." End of quote. Aside from the inner personality and the inner artificial nature, there is also the innermost creation-conditioned personality. And from The Might of Thoughts, German English, page 428, quote, "The other personality is the innermost nature, the creational I, which is of a purely spiritual nature and whose quiet impulses of wisdom are not listened to, or are only extremely seldomly listened to by the human being in general. It is exactly this innermost personality, the innermost creation-conditioned nature to which one must give one's actual attention in order to form, out of its impulses, one's inner nature, that is to say, one's inner personality, which should then also be outwardly expressed by means of the might of the thoughts. Therefore, the more the human being learns to pay attention to his/her innermost nature and to listen to it, the more the ability is developed to contemplate everything and to integrate this into his/her inner nature as well as into his/her actual life, whereby the impulses of his/her innermost nature have an increasingly lasting effect and the innate wisdom of the creational nature can be conveyed into the inner nature which one must form. Through the consciousness's awake ability to assess, the human being is able to distinguish the various impulses and values of the innermost nature from the self-created personality. So he/she therefore learns to recognize the various forms of characteristics which, on the one hand, radiate as guiding impulses from his/her innermost creational nature, or which, on the other hand, attempt to drown out everything as various piercing and often loud, seductive voices from the self-created I." End of quote. Another point worth mentioning is that each one of us has a conscience, and this conscience is the voice of our inner self and serves as a guide for us and is available 24/7 if we are open to its advice. Now, Billy goes on to say, quote, "If the required efforts are undertaken, then the true nature of the innermost creational nature releases everything in terms of wished-for impulses for the creation of capabilities, powers, and transformations, so that the inner self-created nature, the actual personality, which is expressed outwardly, can be acquired, whereby joy, love, peace, harmony, as well as freedom arise in one's own ego, and a trust in oneself is created, which makes it clear that everything which arises in the form of wishes, demands, ideals, efforts, and imaginations can be achieved. The human being thereby creates in himself/herself the wisest leader that he/she could ever wish for. And once the impulses of his/her innermost nature, that is to say, his/her innermost creational personality, gradually become stronger and clearer, the human being who makes efforts in accord with the creational laws and recommendations is more and more able to distinguish between the real creational truth of the innermost I and the many deceptions of the self-created ego, and learns to listen trustingly and with understanding only to the innermost creationally given nature, to the innermost and uniquely, comprehensively, creationally determined personality." End of quote. So with those parting thoughts, it must be clear to each one of us that if we intend to live life to the fullest, we must first start by being aware of who we really are, and then make the necessary changes in the inner self by acknowledging the innermost impulses of love and wisdom coming from our creational energy part piece, so that we can align our inner and our innermost nature and express this outwardly. Thank you.